Okay, so first of all, I must appreciate all of you who have shown up and who have at least attempted the test, irrespective of what score you got. So first of all, uh, whatever, let's say, bad feeling if you have regarding your score, so shrug it off. Okay, because this happens. Uh, it happens and it will happen. Okay, there'll be off days, there'll be good days, there'll be disappointments, there'll be triumphs. Okay, so we have to all take that in the stride. The whole point of this exercise was, see, usually I used to start this a little late. In the last few years, I've been doing this maybe starting September or maybe end August or some time. But I found that test practice was lacking. No matter how many mocks people attempted, how many other in the last couple of months. Okay, so it is good to start a little early, not as a full-fledged test, but as something we can sit through for 40 minutes. Now, this group here, if you know broadly, I can divide it into four. Okay, there are four kinds of people here. One is okay, so let me not put it this way. Let me put it this way. One is those who attempt daily exercises or regularly they are participating. Then people who do not attempt, okay, or maybe they are kind of once in a while, or maybe they've recently joined, so nothing to take away from that, but who do not attempt. And then there are two on this side. One is scored well, okay, and then one is scored not well. So see, if you do not attempt regularly the daily exercises, and if you not scored well, if you lie in this quadrant, which I think quite a few do, okay, and you will yourself know. I mean, I don't need to uh, point out or take names, but because I see people who are attempting the daily exercises and people who are not. And so, if you've not scored well and you do not attempt daily exercise, you don't need to feel bad because I mean that's okay because obviously one has to make efforts and then only the results will show. So if you think that just by doing one odd test or something, your score will be fantastically well. So you are highly mistaken. Okay, so that this group of people, and I think majority of us who are here, I would say, unfortunately, fall in this bracket. So uh, the lesson here is start attempting the daily exercises, no matter when you joined. Okay, even if you joined yesterday, there's nothing to stop you from attempting. See, this is the whole thing about VRC. You can call it the good part, you can call it the bad part. That in let's say something like quant, if you have just joined recently and you are going through maybe and this is your first attempt, then unless you are aware of the basics of let's say a certain number of areas, you might not feel like attempting the test, right? Which is justifiably so. But in this case, you can attempt because this is just English reading and marking questions, right? So a lot of things, a lot of it comes from your your feel of the language. So do not attempt, not score well. Okay, do not attempt, scored well. Good, uh, you are doing well, and you would definitely boost your score significantly if you have not attempted daily exercise. But if you scored well, and perhaps you already have a good grounding in the language, so it's good. But don't feel complacent at all. Then those who attempt daily exercise and those who scored well, yes, you should feel good and proud of yourself. But of course, those who attempt daily exercise, so this group, I obviously they will be more disappointed because they've been doing daily exercises and still not been able to score well in this. That's okay. So obviously, we will have to figure out that what is going wrong and how can that be improved. Okay, so this group is what is more concerning. Okay, so having said that, let me get your quick views. Some of you on how did you find this test? How did you approach? What was your feedback on it? Yes, please go ahead. So there is a question here before we go. So I'll do the explanations and all. Before that, let's a little bit of chit chat. Okay, ideally, so there's the question: how much time should have been taken to finish this test? See, those who are see again, it depends on at what level you are. Right, somebody who's let's say uh, from average to a little above average or even little below average. So this 40 minutes में लोग इतना ही करते हैं 16 क्वेश्चन ही करते हैं. Many people attempt 16 questions in the whole exam. So for them, it's fine. But the people who are aspiring for getting scores above 40, 45, 50, for them, I would say I would say maybe 30 minutes should have been 32 minutes should have been good enough for this. Passages were not long. Questions were not overtly tricky. So 30 minutes should have sufficed. Uh, okay, so yes. So there are some who have said that you belong to the group that attempt daily but not scoring well. Okay. Not scoring well नहीं बोलो, not scoring well नहीं, not scored well in this बोलो, because scoring well अभी तो ये पहली टेस्ट ही है. ठीक है, so let me get some feedback. Anyone willing to give a feedback? How did you find this and what's your experience of this? And it was based on the CAT 24 pattern in the sense that the questions were jumbled up. There was no first RCs and then VA questions, right? So बताइए, कोई किसी के पास में कोई फीडबैक है, कुछ है, they want to give. What would be a good score in this test? Okay, अभी we'll come to the good score because obviously good score is a relative term. So we will talk about the good score अभी. हाँ बताइए, anyone would like to comment on it?
Sir, I think a good score would be around 30 to 35 as there were enough hints in each of the question. So finding that hints which will we will get the answer. We have to focus on that, which I didn't
Right,
in this
fine,
test.
fair enough. So what Chetan is saying, around 30 to 35 would be a good score. All right. Okay. अभी इस पे बात करेंगे हम once we go through the whole thing. Yes, any other feedback? Any other feedback on the test? Any other thing? How did you find it? Was it difficult, moderate, easy? It's not necessary that people who scored less would have found it difficult. It is just that they could have made some very silly errors also, okay, which we will uncover as we go along.
Sir, it's not about questions and all things. Just like while writing the MCATs, they will provide the question paper view. So is it possible to include a question paper
So
view in our test?
there is a feature of question paper view, is it not?
I am not able to find.
I'll check it. I'll check it because there is a question paper view, or maybe it is not there in test series. So I see if it is not there in this test series format, then there is a mock test separate section. So then I'll have to see whether because in that it had, there was. So I'll check. Okay, because I thought that it would be here. So I'll check. Good input. Okay, I'll check.
Because it will help to find out the question.
Sure. No, that should be there. That should be there. Question paper
So
view.
it is there because I have also
There.
used it.
In today's test, it was there.
Yes, sir, under the number plate where the question numbers view are given.
Yeah.
Below that only question paper option is generally in the actual CAT we have it on the top right corner, but it was right.
Okay, so Suparno says it is there. Okay, I will anyway.
Actually, I had seen in the top right. Maybe that is the mistake. So.
Yeah. Question. So there is the question. What is question paper view? So question paper view means on one sheet, you scroll from top to bottom, you will see all the questions. Okay, that is the question paper view, which is there in all the mocks. Okay, and the actual CAT paper also. So that will help you to figure out which ones are the RCs and which ones are the VA questions little more quickly. Okay. Otherwise, you'll have to go from one question to the other. That might take a little time. So it is easier to look in the question paper view and scroll it down. Okay, so that should be there. And anyway, that was there. The report is, but so only thing is it has to be located, right? Maybe it was not very prominently located. So usko dekhna padega. I'll figure it out. All right. What else? Any other feedback?
सर जनरली मैं
Go ahead.
जनरली मैं आरसीज पहले करने का ट्राई करता हूँ, बट इसमें सिंस शफल थे सो मुझे जो सीक्वेंस था मैं उसी सीक्वेंस से गया और ज्यादा कुछ फर्क लगा नहीं मुझे. डिफिकल्ट ऐसा नहीं लगा कि वो पहले आ गया बाद में, तो जो आया वो सॉल्व करा. Not big of an issue लगा.
So that's fair enough. That also happened last year also. That I also used to do like this, segregate this, but कई बार मैंने भी बीच में उसमें ऐसा कर दिया था कि बीच में भी करते चले. तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. So that's okay. One can try to देखो अभी ये सब चीजें इतनी जल्दी स्ट्रीमलाइन करने का और नैरो डाउन करने का नहीं है कि हमें यही पहले करना है या वो पहले करना है. वो हम धीरे धीरे देखेंगे कि आपकी एक्यूरेसी किसमें ज्यादा है, कितनी है. यस कुशाग्र.
सर जैसे जनरली आई प्रेफर कि मैं वीए पहले करूं ताकि थोड़ा सा लाइक माइंड वार्म अप हो जाए रीडिंग के लिए, और फिर आरसी में मतलब एकदम से ऐसा ना लगे कि ये एब्सर्ड सा थोड़ा टेक्स्ट आ गया इतना सारा पढ़ने के लिए. बट इस वाले जैसे टेस्ट में थोड़ा सा वीए मेरे को कंपैरेटिवली आरसी से थोड़ा ट्रिकी लगी, तो फिर मेरे को बीच में सारी VA करने से बीच में पहले छोड़ के फिर आरसी पे आना पड़ा, फिर आरसीज मेरे को कंपैरेटिवली इजी लगे, फिर वो करके फिर मैं बाद में एंड में VA पे आया। तो मतलब थोड़ा सा इसमें वो चेंज था कि VA थोड़ा सा मुश्किल लगी मुझे कंपैरेटिवली आरसी से।
Okay, all right. Okay, yes, Bhavya.
सर आई ऑल्सो एग्री विद कुशाग्र। मतलब वीए इसमें पहले था तो थोड़ा सा वो ट्रिकी लग रहा था, पर उसमें थोड़ा सा टाइम जाने के बाद थोड़ा समझ आने लग गया था। पर वो जो आपकी स्ट्रेटेजी है ना, जो पेपर से पहले कुछ पढ़ लो या कुछ एक अटेम्प्ट कर लो छोटा सा, तो दैट विल बी हेल्पफुल, क्योंकि स्टार्टिंग क्वेश्चन में बहुत टाइम लगा, एंड में तो फिर कवर अप हो गया था।
तो आपने
एंड
वो किया था क्या? Did you do that?
नहीं नहीं, दिस टाइम आई डिडंट, सो आई फेल्ट कि मेरा कुछ टाइम वेस्ट हुआ है, बट आई कुड
हाँ,
इम्प्रूव।
करेक्ट करेक्ट, आई एग्री विद यू। कुछ टफ रीडिंग करने से आपको फिर इजी लगने लगता है ना। जैसे हमने उस दिन भी पैरा सबरी में भी देखा था कि जो टफ वाले वो कर रहे थे, उसके बाद में थोड़ा इजी लगने लगता है।
यस यस।
यस,
एंड एक
हिमांशु।
फोर्थ वाला आरसी था बैरोक वाला, वो
हम्म।
मुझे पर्सनली डिफिकल्ट लगा, तो उसे एक बार समझा देना।
कौन सा आरसी? वो जो बरोक थिएटर वाला, बरोक
हाँ।
आर्ट आर्ट वाला, ठीक है ठीक
यस
है,
यस।
ओके। यस, हिमांशु।
सर आई फेल्ट कि पैटर्न काफी कैट 2024 टाइप था, लाइक जंबल था VA और आरसी। पहले आरसी करने के बाद VA पे जाने पे VA वही जैसे बोला उन्होंने कि थोड़ा ट्रिकी लगा, आरसी इजीली हो गया था, एंड पैटर्न काफी 2024 टाइप ही लगा।
ओके, ऑलराइट, good feedback. Okay, so fine. So I think let's now look at the explanations. Let's see which ones we got correct, which ones we did not. Why? What was the let's say trap in each of those questions? So we will go question by question. Okay, so I'm not right now. I'm not unduly focusing on whether we should be doing VA first, whether we should be doing RC first. That at least at this stage, I'm not getting into it. Uh, because see, first of all, this was not a full length thing, right? It didn't have 24 questions, and I had given 40 minutes, right? So obviously, it doesn't really matter whether you did VA first or RC first. Of course, it matters a great deal when you are doing 4 RC, then all 8 VA questions. So then we'll keep that for the full length when we are doing from next week onwards. Okay. So first is, it turns out that your compulsive need to organize your bookshelf by color might actually be linked to cognitive strengths. So this first sentence says, to all the people who've ever been teased for arranging their pencils by length or aligning their shoes with geometric precision, this is your moment. So this talks about 2 examples of a little obsessive behavior, right? Aligning your shoes and pencils by length. It turns out that your compulsive need to organize your bookshelf by color might actually be linked to cognitive strengths. So this is a good, see, if you've been reading a lot, you will realize that this fits very neatly here. To all the people, it turns out, right? So to all the people who've been ever teased, it turns out that your compulsive need to organize your bookshelf. And then it goes on to explain why has it been linked to cognitive strengths. For years, neat freaks have endured eye rolls and jokes about obsessive behavior. So see, here now he's putting all obsessive behavior under one bucket. Here he had given different examples of it, right? Why it is important is that if someone wanted to put this in a place which was not this, then you would need to ask yourself that why would then just mentioning this, because obsessive behavior is being bunched now altogether. They've been told to chill, accused of being control freaks, pitied for their inability to leave a painting slightly askew. The popular perception often overlooked. So this is the popular perception that people have been told to chill, right? They don't try to be control freak, and some have been pitied also. Popular perception often overlooks the complexity behind compulsive tidiness. A team of researchers recently found that individuals who score high also tend to perform better on tasks requiring working memory. In short, the next time someone mocks your symmetrical stack arrangement, just remind them science is on the side. So one was the best place where it could fit. Do we agree? Yes, Kuchana.
सर आई थॉट कि इसमें इट टर्न्स आउट सो लाइक इट्स काइंड ऑफ कि आफ्टर कोई एक्सपेरिमेंट या कुछ बेसिकली वो कंक्लूड कर रहे हैं, तो इसलिए मैंने इसको 4 में डाला था, क्योंकि उसमें लिखा हुआ है कि टीम ऑफ रिसर्चर्स फ्रॉम स्टैनफोर्ड रिसेंटली फाउंड दैट द इंडिविजुअल। तो उसके बाद फिर आई थिंक मेरे को लगा कि वो सेंस ज्यादा बनाएगा कि इट टर्न्स आउट की, क्योंकि उन्होंने मतलब पहले मतलब डिड्यूस करा है कुछ, उसके बाद फिर हम कंक्लूड कर रहे हैं कि वो एक्चुअली कॉग्निटिव स्ट्रेंथ से लिंक्ड हो सकता है, तो वो
नहीं
मतलब
देखो,
वो लॉजिक गलत है
दिस
क्या?
इज द प्रॉब्लम हियर इज दिस, that why would he name bookshelf by color here? And then why would he say, in short, next time someone mocks your symmetrical snack arrangement, tell them science is on your side. See, this one, if you fit it here, then this thing will make it inappropriate. Because it turns out, see, that you're compulsive. See, a team of researchers found that individuals, so already they have given the result here, found that individuals who score high on orderliness also tend to perform better. So then why would he say it turns out? That has already turned out in this team of researchers, isn't it? So it won't fit in 4.
Okay, okay, got it, sir, got it.
It has already turned out. तो इसलिए वो 4 में नहीं आएगा. Yes.
So with the same logic, like in third, why it cannot come? Because if I say that it is linked to cognitive strengths, then the researcher are like elaborating it more. I thought like that.
See, the popular perception often overlooks the complexity behind compulsive tidiness. Now, you see the language here. See, you have to, that's why I said that if you read, you will realize that your compulsive, whom is he addressing, first of all? Now, here, this is the popular perception. This is talking in general. Here he is addressing, to people who have this compulsive need to do something. So this one will not fit in here. It will be like a sore thumb. But whereas here, you see, for all those people who have been teased by running this is your moment. Okay, you are addressing to the people who are doing all of these things. It turns out that your compulsive need. See, this particular your, it gets over here. And then a little more, general description starts. यहाँ पे इसमें आप देखिए, from here to here, they've not used this your. This was specifically addressed to your compulsive need. Okay, that your moment. This is your moment. Why it is your moment? Why it is your moment? So that is why he's explaining it. It turns out that your compulsive need might be actually linked to cognitive strength. So you are telling them that this is your moment, and this one gives that particular reason why it is your moment, and therefore it would come in 1.
Sir, but at the end of the sentence, it is introducing the cognitive strength, and it is not. It's not talking about that for next 2 to 3 sentences.
Where?
Sir, if you fit it in the first line.
So no. So that is where the whole thing starts, na? That you end it here and then you start the logical explanation. This is like a creating, like you are trying to create an effect. जैसे आप impact create करने की कोशिश करते हो writing में, when you start your paragraph, you want to capture the attention of people. So he is telling them that if you've been wondering, or if you have been always feeling like this, then this is your moment. And why is it so? Because it turns out that you are competitive. See, why would this your fit anywhere else? Tell me then. और ये जो आप बोलोगे ना कि your, तो यहाँ पे भी लिखा है, this your is about this one. In short, next time someone mocks your symmetrical, just remind them science on your side. This is a conclusive sentence. Okay, so anyway, so I'll not elaborate further. You can go to the original paragraph also and see if you are, let's say, in any doubt. Okay, this is how this was supposed to be. It was a difficult question, no doubt. I would label it as difficult here. All right, what about this one? Here the dilemma was between which option? Tell me.
2 and 3.
2 and 3, right? 2 and 3. So which one will we choose? Obviously, the answer chose 2. Why is it so? So here, see what he's saying. The idea that intelligence could be quantified like BP was barely a century old when I took the test that would decide my place in the world, right? But the notion that intelligence could determine one's station in life was already much older. It runs like a red thread through Western thought from philosophy of Plato to this. To say someone is not intelligent or has never been a comment of their mental faculties. It was always a judgment on what they are permitted to do. Intelligence, in other words, is political. That means intelligence is not about just your abilities, but also it's like what your social standing would be. Now, the two ideas here is that this particular point, that intelligence not just determines your ability, but also your social standing. And this view has been there. So if you look at 2 and 3, see, first of all, 1, intelligence tests are politically motivated. Many times politicians, this is not at all representation, can be easily eliminated. Intelligence can be quantified, tested, proven. This is also a very, very partial idea, half-baked. Now let's understand this. The assertion of someone's intelligence is not only limited to individual's ability, but it also determines the person's social position. So this political view Okay, see, this political view means what? That you let somebody's intelligence dictate what he or she is allowed to do. That thing is being viewed as political, and that determines the person's social position. So this second one has that particular thing captured well. Now you look at 3. The idea of intelligence as a determiner of one's potential and social standing has been there for a long time. Though this has this particular view that it has been there for a long time, but it does not convey the way this paragraph is designed. That intelligence is not just your measure of ability, but it also determines your social standing, and that view is a political view, and therefore that is captured here in this. This one just makes it out as if the idea of intelligence as a determiner, that means this has been there for a long time and there was no issue with it. Author has taken an issue with it, that this is a politically oriented view. So that view is captured in second and not in third, and therefore second was the right answer. This was again a little tricky question, no doubt. Do we agree? So I would label it also as a moderate to difficult, I would say, or rather, let me label it as difficult.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
So I marked third as the answer, third option as the answer, seeing that it has also added the aspect of long time.
Right.
That's why I marked the third
Agreed.
option. I
See, that
could
is-
not really.
No, but that is exactly what I'm saying. That has been there for a long time is an idea, fine. But more importantly, intelligence is a view that it also decides your social status. And that is a political view. And that is being brought out in this. It is not being brought out in this. So we sacrifice this for choosing the correct essence of the paragraph, which is mentioned in second. So here, that is why it becomes a little difficult, this question. That this, देखो ये क्या बोल रहा है कि यार इंटेलिजेंस से सिर्फ आपकी एबिलिटी नहीं पता लगती, बल्कि आप वो आपको ये भी डिसाइड करता है कि आप लाइफ में कहां तक जा सकते हो. तो क्या ये जो व्यू है कि लाइफ में आप कहां तक जा सकते हो, इसको ऑथर सब्सक्राइब कर रहा है, इसको ऑथर जस्टिफाई कर रहा है, या ही इज सेइंग दैट इट इज ऑलवेज अ जजमेंट ऑन व्हाट वी आर परमिटेड टू डू, इंटेलिजेंस इन अदर वर्ड इज पॉलिटिकल. इज ही टेकिंग अ पॉजिटिव व्यू ऑफ द इंटेलिजेंस इन दैट वे दैट इट इज अलाउड टू डिटरमिन योर सोशल स्टैंडिंग? क्या ऑथर
No.
पॉजिटिव व्यू ले रहा है? नो. तो यहाँ पे जो जिस तरीके बताया कि द आइडिया ऑफ इंटेलिजेंस एंड डिटरमाइनर वंस potential and social standing has been there for a long time, it just shows that this is a positive thing.
Okay, so the negative aspect is not carried out.
Negative aspect is not captured here.
Okay,
So
got
subtle
you.
है, quite subtle. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's look at the passage now. Okay, so let's run through this. What he's saying: invisible theater and guerrilla theater are 2 forms of street theater, similar origins. They take place exclusively in public places. Okay, so this is important. Both are in public places. That means they are not held in a theater or some kind of auditorium, right? Invisible theater conceals its performative nature, whereas guerrilla theater flaunts it. So invisible theater में ये नहीं पता लगने दे दिया जाता कि it is a drama, but guerrilla theater में it flaunts it. That it makes it visible. When invisible theater creates a performance space unbeknownst to the audience, theater actively seeks the attention of the audience by explicitly imposing a performance space onto a public space. So, invisible theater creates a performance space unbeknownst to the audience. That means some people will be carrying out this kind of a theater in front of you, will not even know that they are carrying out a theater. So the public is not aware. So guerrilla theater जो है, वो it captures the attention of the audience by imposing the performance. That means you are very well aware that some kind of a performance is going on. Starting in early 70s, Augusto and fellow actors have staged scenes regarding social issues in public or semi-public places, crafting their dialogue. Crafting their dialogue and attention and action to get a verbal action reaction from bystanders. Because performers and non-performers remain distinct, invisible theater returns somewhat to the model set up by the traditional theater. So, यहाँ पे ये what he's saying is that these Augusto, Boal and fellow actors, they've been doing these kind of things in public and semi-public places, where they craft their dialogue, means they have a script. Okay, it's not that they kind of take it played by the ear or whatever comes to their mind they say. They craft their dialogue and action ताकि एक reaction मिले bystanders से. And because performance and non-performers remain distinct, invisible theater returns somewhat to the model set up by traditional theater. तो जैसे traditional theater में stage होता है और लोग देख रहे थे, वैसे यहाँ पे भी there is a distinction between the performers and the audience. Only thing is that the audience is not aware. However, there are a few key differences. Performance space is created in public places without the awareness of non-performance. For non-performers, being beyond the performative space allows them to avoid the etiquette of theater going and removes that lens that unavoidably emerges when we feel we are viewing art or performance. So, when you go to view a theater or something, then he's saying that you wear a lens in the sense that you you are basically following some etiquettes of theater going, and there are some lens that you put in your before you view and judgment, you take a judgment, right? तो ये remove हो जाता है because आपके सामने, so suppose you're sitting in a restaurant and having your meal, and you find that there's a big table where there are some people and they start discussing something. Now that something would be the invisible theater, in the sense that they would have scripted it, and they would have started speaking about some situation. Let's say somebody start talking about the crumbling infrastructure that is there around, and then you as a non-performer, you don't understand that this is actually theater that is happening, right? And therefore you start getting more and more involved. If people do not suspect that they are viewing art, however, they are free to engage with the action concepts of an unfolding drama as if these actions and concepts were real. So you would also start kind of participating, or you would also start taking some actions, what they are suggesting. Boal has documented various successful instances of invisible theatre in which non-performers actively listen, participate in public spirited discussion, and even take unplanned public-minded action in response to the dialogue and events set up by invisible theatre performers. So suppose वहाँ पे they are discussing about some infrastructure issues and all that, some garbage not being cleaned. So people also then would like to take some action. They would also maybe go to their locality or maybe do some demonstration, something like that. Because onlookers think that they are witnessing real life events, because the performers are bold in their statements, because the scripted characters are very vocal about what they are doing and experiencing. Invisible theatre is able to instigate political conversation within the everyday context. It successfully creates public forums out of thin air, right? So this is, I think, self-explanatory, that because people feel that they are witnessing real life events, and because these scripted characters, right? So they are very vocal about what they are doing and experiencing. तो इसके कारण लोग उसमें involve हो जाते हैं, right? Guerrilla theatre creates surprise performances in public, but is driven by the forceful imposition of traditional. If we call anything about guerrilla theatre, traditional theatre, right? So, surprise performances, right, driven by forceful imposition of traditional. So traditional ko isme is put it in inverted commas, because obviously it is not traditional, but however, it still has elements of that traditional theatre. One example includes two professors of Galway's University College who dressed in their robes and went out to the street, questioning pedestrians and awarding diplomas to the ones least able to provide good answers. As a way to protest their university's decision to grant Ronald Reagan an honorary doctorate in law. So these university professors, okay, so they were dressed in their robes, which means people knew that they were actors, or I mean, they were not from within themselves, right? And then they started questioning pedestrians about anything, and then gave diplomas to the one least able to provide good answers. Right? Suppose you ask someone something, and he's least able to provide good answer, you give them the diploma. This was a way to protest their university decision to grant Ronald Reagan, who was the president of US in 1980s, honorary doctorate in law. So this was their way of protesting. Large part of goal of guerrilla theatre is to get publicized its message echoed over and over in an expanding network of technology interface mass media. Guerrilla theatre knows that it may antagonize its direct audience, talks and hopes to, because conflict is more likely to broadcast, and the goal of guerrilla theatre is to get people talking public. So here, obviously, जो ये लोग हैं, people who've been least able to provide good answer, they will feel bad about it also. They might take offense also. But that is what guerrilla theatre aims to, because it wants to get publicized. It may antagonize its direct audience. अगर कोई जवाब नहीं दे रहा है, suppose somebody has not been able to give any answer, you are still giving them some awards, then obviously they will feel offended. But that is precisely, he says, what they want, because the conflict is more likely to be broadcast. And end of a goal of theatre is to get people talking public, right? So this passage basically talks about these two forms, invisible and guerrilla theatres. Okay, so I hope the differences are clear to everybody. Let's go to the questions. Which of the following can be inferred from the passage? When people are unaware that they are viewing a performance, they tend to act more naturally. This is very easily inferable, isn't it? बहुत साफ लिखा हुआ है कि that they act naturally, because it allows them to avoid the etiquette of theatre going and removes the lens that unavoidably emerges when we feel we are doing art of performance. So people act more naturally, so this can be inferred, right? Invisible theatre is best described as improvisational. What is the meaning of improvisation? Anyone, what is the meaning of the word improvise? So this is testing your vocabulary.
So doing something that is not really planned.
Doing something that is not really planned, correct. So if, let's say, a batsman makes a reverse sweep, right? So did he plan when he came to bat that he will use reverse sweep or or some other kind of non-conventional shots? No. So that is called improvisation, right? Depending upon the situation, you will act. But here it is not improvisational, because very clearly he said that first is crafting their dialogue. They've already created, and then scripting. वो कहाँ पे लिखते scripted characters, right? So they are scripted, they are not improvising there. So therefore this cannot be inferred. One measure of success of theatrical performance can be the actions taken by audience once the performance is over. Yes. So whether the performance was successful, you can judge by if people are also involved in that public whatever discourse, or they are also taking some actions, whatever have been propagated through the theater, right? So this can be inferred, and therefore the correct answer is 1 and 3 only. Yes, Omkar.
Sir, in case of invisible theaters, we can also like infer from one of the sentences that the audience interacted during the performance as well, right? So not just at the end of the performance. For
No,
example,
come again. Which? So out of this 1, 2, 3, which one are you talking about?
sir, for the third, like in the invisible theaters, like it here mentions that the audience performance action after the performance is over, right? But in case of invisible theater, the actions of the audience were also involved when the performance was going on, right? There's a
No,
tension
not
that
that way. No. See, what is the effectiveness of theater? The effectiveness of theater is that ये है ना, invisible theater is able to instigate political conversation within everyday context. It successfully creates public forums out of thin air. So when you are interacting there, obviously, see, suppose आप restaurant में बैठे हो, as I explained, and you are interacting with the clients, with the performers. But when you come out of it and you start taking some action, so you start protesting, or you start creating a public forum, or you start a page on any social media, or you also start, let's say, showing your dissent to the government for their policies or whatever. So that is the measure of effectiveness of the invisible theater. That is what he's suggesting here. Does it make
okay, sir,
sense?
got it. Yeah.
Yes, Ashish.
सर मुझे थर्ड वाले पे जाना है एक बार।
क्या हो गया इसमें?
हाँ सर, इसमें थर्ड वाला मुझे गलत लगा, क्योंकि यहाँ पे वो कोई स्पेसिफिक टाइप ऑफ थियोरेटिकल परफॉर्मेंस की बात नहीं कर रहा, सिर्फ इन जनरल थिएटर परफॉर्मेंस की बात कर रहा है। और उसमें भी अगर अपन इनविजिबल वाले में देखिए, तो उसमें जो ऑडियंस होती है दैट इंटरैक्ट्स व्हाइल द एक्ट इज गोइंग, ना कि आफ्टर इट हैज एंडेड।
भाई आप नहीं समझ रहे हो, ये पैराग्राफ पढ़ो ना आप। See, various successful incidences of invisible theater, non-performer actively listen, participate in public discussion, and even take unplanned public-minded action in response to the dialogue. So you mean to say that this public-minded action they are taking sitting there, wherever they are viewing it, or afterwards? यार ये तो समझने की बात है ना। आप अभी सपोज करो कि किसी भी एक पब्लिक प्लेस में आपके सामने कुछ परफॉर्मेंस हो रही है, यू पार्टिसिपेट इन दैट, यू डिस्कस दैट, एंड योर माइंड इज चेंज, you also start thinking or looking in the direction that they are trying to show, and then you also come back and you start a public minded action, or you successfully create public forums out of thin air. तो ये वहीं के वहीं बैठे बैठे थोड़ी करोगे आप यार। इसका आप मतलब समझो ना कि इनविजिबल थिएटर में वो क्या बताने की कोशिश कर रहा है आपको, कि आपने जो भी, किसी ने भी आपके सामने कोई सोशल इशू प्रेजेंट किया, ओके, सपोज somebody presents on certain forum some issue about maybe some social issue about डाउरी, कि डाउरी लेने से ये हो जाता है, वो हो जाता है, ऐसे कुछ एग्जांपल बता रहा था बैठ के वहां पे, वो लोग भी पार्टिसिपेट, हाँ ये नहीं लेना चाहिए, वो नहीं लेना चाहिए, एंड देन पीपल इन देयर ओन लाइव्स, और पीपल देन स्टार्टेड हैविंग लेट्स से some forum they created कि, or let's suppose डाउरी, let's not get into it, let's try to name shame some people who are involved in it, ऐसा करके कुछ एक्शन शुरू कर दिया। आप वहीं पे थोड़ी एक्शन शुरू कर दोगे। सेम थिंग अबाउट दिस ऑल्सो, guerrilla theater, कि it gets to talking people talking publicly. This talking publicly is not going to happen there, and he's not suggesting that जब आप वो थिएटर का उसमें एक्ट में इन्वॉल्व हो, सी आप उनसे एक्सचेंज कर रहे हो, you will actively listen and participate, but this is not the action that he's looking for. He's looking for the action which happens after this whole thing is over.
तो मैंने ये देखा, पार्टिसिपेट कर रहा है तो मतलब वो खत्म होने से पहले ही कर रहा होगा, तो
क्या
पब्लिक
चाहिए भाई? पार्टिसिपेंट अगर पहले सपोज करो कि वो पार्टिसिपेंट बहुत डिस्कशन कर रहा है, ठीक है, और उसके बाद में आके उसने कुछ भी नहीं किया, सपोज करो कि मैं एक मैंने ऐसी फोरम बनाई है जो कि which basically wants to demonstrate against the government's inaction in improving the infrastructure. Let's take a simple example. तो मैंने लोगों को इन्वॉल्व किया, मैंने एक घंटे काफी उनको थ्रू द इनविजिबल दिस थिंग आई वांटेड टू गिव देम ऑल द अवेयरनेस एंड एवरीथिंग। लोगों ने मेरे से बहुत उसमें इंटरेक्ट किया, बहुत खुश होके चले गए घर, उसके बाद जाके सो गए वो। तो क्या मेरा पर्पस सॉल्व हुआ? यार यही तो बताने की कोशिश कर रहा है, जो आप समझो, इसकी डेप्थ में घुसो ना, कि इनविजिबल थिएटर के थ्रू दे वांट पीपल टू गो एंड टेक सम एक्शन, पब्लिक माइंडेड एक्शन, क्रिएट सम पब्लिक फोरम्स आउट ऑफ थिन एयर। दैट इज व्हाट ही इज सजेस्टिंग हियर। ठीक है, चलो, ओके, इज इनफ डिस्कशन ऑन दिस पॉइंट, लेट्स मूव। आई थिंक इट इज प्रीटी क्लियर। ओके, इतना तो समझना चाहिए हमको यार। द मेन पॉइंट ऑफ द पैसेज कुड बेस्ट बी डिस्क्राइब्ड एज A discussion of two different but aligned artistic currents. Yes, very correct. Two different but aligned artistic currents, invisible और guerrilla, दोनों का पर्पस ये है कि लोगों को मोटिवेट करना कि वो कुछ एक्शन लें, right? But they are different in the sense one wants to conceal its performative part and the second is open about it. तो दोनों different है लेकिन दोनों के aligned currents है, तो ये रख सकते हैं. Examination of which two is more effective? No, he is not compared that invisible is more effective or the other one. Synopsis, the evolution of theater? No. Presentation of few theatrical concepts that conceal their performance. This concealing is relevant to. Just give me 1 second. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. So this A was a clear answer here. Do we agree? Do we agree or not?
Yes.
किसी को उसमें डाउट है?
Yes.
ठीक है, चलो. Next. Which of the following real world scenarios was most closely aligned with the principles of invisible theater as described in the passage? तो invisible theater के जो भी characteristics है, right? We have to see which one aligns. Group of performers stage a flash mob in a shopping mall, surprising passers-by, and then reveal it was a protest against consumerism. So stages a flash mob. So when you stage a flash mob, then are you concealing the performative part of it, or you are exposing it? People know that this is a flash mob, so they don't think that this is like a normal conversation or something which is happening, which is not out of the normal, right? So this is wrong. Pair of actors in a cafe loudly enacted a heated debate on climate change, never breaking character or revealing that the act is staged, even after audience engagement. This looks fine. We'll keep it. Street performers dressed as politicians hold banners, chant slogans to protest government policy. Now, here, street performers dressed as politicians means this is a guerrilla kind of a theater wherein you are basically dressed as politicians, which means people will know that this is a theatrical performance. So, this is not the answer. University theater group performs a scripted play, advertising it to public beforehand. So, this is what is wrong. This part was okay, that you perform a scripted play about social equality, inequality in a plus. This is also not true. Open air amphitheater, तो लोगों को पता है कि amphitheater में तो performances होती है. So this also is not really in line with it. Correct answer is B. Agreed? Agreed, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Passage implies that Galway professors did not believe in any of the following except. So except, negative, did not believe, negative, 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 positive. So which one they believed in, right? So we can rephrase this as passage implies that which of the following did the Galway professors believe in? Guerrilla theater was superior? No, nothing like that. They just employed guerrilla theater. Does not mean that they had compared it with invisible theater and then found that this was superior. Nothing like that. Protesting an honor could result in revocation of the award. I don't think that they believe that by doing this protest they will be able to take back the award from Ronald Reagan. वो तो हो ही नहीं सकता. This is also wrong. Granting Ronald Reagan a degree demeaned the intellectual standard. Yes, very clearly it is stated that कि Ronald Reagan को आपने कैसे दे दिया as a way to protest that university decision to grant Ronald Reagan an honorary doctorate in law. Right? So they felt that it was beneath the intellectual standard of the university to do it. This looks fine. Handing out diplomas was a legal activity. No, they did not think like this was legal activity or illegal activity. Correct answer is C here. Okay, let me address the objections here. Yes, Tanmay.
सर मैंने बी मार्क कर दिया था बिकॉज मेरे को ऐसा लगता है कि जब भी कोई भी प्रोटेस्ट होता है तो वो किसी पर्टिकुलर आउटकम के लिए होता है। तो मतलब मेरे को ऐसा लगा कि रिवोकेशन ऑफ द अवार्ड हो सकता है, वो सोच रहे हो कि अगर वो प्रोटेस्ट करेंगे तो वो ऑनर वापस ले लिया जाएगा।
यार देखो, एक चीज आप समझो, inference based questions में unless something is there in the passage that makes you infer it, then only you can infer. ठीक है, अभी चलो हमें मतलब जस्ट हाइपोथेटिकली आपको पता है रेनॉल्ड रीगन कब थे? अब रेनॉल्ड रीगन अभी है भी जिंदा, आपको पता है? वो तो ऑलरेडी मर चुके हैं, तो ऐसा कभी होता है क्या कि वो 80s में कुछ उनको डॉक्टर इन लॉ है तो ये जाके सड़क पे अवार्ड बांट रहे हैं, और आपको लगता है कि किसी चार प्रोफेसर चले गए सड़क पे और अवार्ड बांटने लगे, उससे वो रिवोक कर लिया जाएगा? मतलब ये तो यार, सी,
नहीं
दिस इज लिटिल
नहीं।
फार फेच्ड, इजंट इट?
यस सर।
हाँ, तो थोड़ा
यस
ज्यादा
सर।
आपने ज्यादा सोच लिया।
हाँ सर, थोड़ा ज्यादा।
ओके, ठीक है, चलो, ऑल राइट। तो I hope everybody is okay with this. You see, this was an easy question, I would say. This was also easy to moderate at max. This, of course, I mean, I would call it moderate, but there was a lot of discussion on this, and I don't know why. Still, if you are not clear, you can talk to me later on after the class. We can discuss it. And this was also, I would say, easy to moderate in here. So this passage, though it looked abstract, but if you understood the whole, there's nothing very complicated about this, I thought. ऐसा कोई difficult passage मुझे नहीं लगा ये. तो I don't know people, how did you find it? बताइए. The scores of
Sir,
the people who have not done well does not say that this was an easy passage, but yes, बोलो.
sir, one thing was that in most of the question in this passage, nothing was directly inferable from the passage itself
Why it
only,
was not?
because
Why it was not?
like in the question one, point three, and also in the second and the fourth question, first, third, and fourth question in this passage, वो मतलब डायरेक्टली एक रीडिंग में फर्क ऐसा होता है ना कि वो इन्फर नहीं हो रहा था, लाइक
तो बहुत, बल्कि अगर देखो, आप देखोगे तो सेकंड वाला पैसेज इससे ज्यादा डिफिकल्ट है उस हिसाब से, अगर the way what you are saying. See, if you understand what is a invisible theater, what is a guerrilla theater, which is very well explained in the whole passage, then I don't think you should have problem in figuring out even this one कि कौन सा होगा. बिकॉज इसमें क्लियर क्लूज दिए हुए हैं, वेरी क्लियर क्लूज. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यहाँ फ्लैश मॉब दिया हुआ है. तो फ्लैश मॉब कभी भी आपके सामने आएगा या आएगा तो क्या आपको लगेगा कि ये मतलब नॉर्मल लोग हैं जो हमारे सामने ऐसे ही आ गए टाइम पास करने के लिए? नहीं लगेगा ना ऐसा. दूसरा, स्ट्रीट परफॉर्मर ड्रेस्ड एज पॉलिटिशियन, ये यहाँ पे साफ लिखा हुआ है कि ये जो गैलवे के प्रोफेसर थे ये ड्रेस्ड इन देयर रोब्स. तो अगर जब ये गैलवे के प्रोफेसर अपने कपड़ों में पहन के मार्केट में गए और उन्होंने ये सब करना शुरू कर दिया, तो दैट मीन्स दे डिड नॉट वांट टू कंसील. सेम थिंग इज, यही तो बोल कर रहे हैं, पॉलिटिशियन बन के जा रहे हैं जो, तो दे आर ऑल्सो डूइंग द सेम गेरिल्ला थिंग. और दूसरा, यहाँ पे एडवर्टाइजिंग इन पब्लिक बिफोर हैंड, यहाँ पे साफ साफ लिखा हुआ है दैट कि पीपल डोंट नो, राइट, पीपल डोंट नो दैट दिस इज बीइंग, दिस इज ये लिखा हुआ है परफॉर्मेंस इज क्रिएटेड विदाउट द अवेयरनेस ऑफ नॉन परफॉर्मेंस. तो वेरी क्लियरली रिटन देयर. ओके, तन्मय बोलिए.
Excuse me, sir.
ये जस्ट अ मिनट, तन्मय हैड रेज्ड द हैंड, देन आई विल कम टू यू.
सर मेरे को बस ये पूछना था कि मतलब वो यूनिवर्सिटी का इंटेलेक्चुअल स्टैंडर्ड डाउन हो रहा है, ऐसा सर कौन से लाइन से इन्फर कर पा रहे हैं, प्लीज अगर आप बता पाए.
ये क्या है? As a way to protest their university's decision to grant Ronald Reagan an honorary doctorate. What else can you infer from this?
सर ये लाइन तो ये कह रही है सिंपली कि उनकी यूनिवर्सिटी ने रोनाल्ड रीगन को जो ऑनरी डॉक्टरेट की डिग्री दी वो उसके खिलाफ प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं.
हाँ, तो क्यों उन्हें प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है?
मतलब
अगर
उनके
अगर आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी किसी को ऑनररी डॉक्टर इन लॉ दे देती है और आप प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हो, तो आपको क्या प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है? आप सोचो,
सर
क्या हो
हमें
सकती
ये
है?
लगेगा कि वो बंदा उसके लायक नहीं है,
हाँ, तो
उसको
बस
दिया.
हो गया ना, खत्म बात. तो और क्या, यही तो लिखा हुआ है कि डिमीट द इंटेलेक्चुअल स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ द यूनिवर्सिटी. ये वही तो आपने
बट सर
एग्जैक्टली वही तो बोला आपने कि वो बंदा
बट
उसके
सर
लायक
हम ये
नहीं
भी
है.
तो सोच सकते हैं ना कि वो डिग्री वापस ले ली जाए उससे,
अरे
मतलब.
यार, फिर वो ये वहीं आ गए. अभी वो मैंने आपको समझा दिया, दैट इज नॉट पॉसिबल. डिग्री वापस, यार, चार लोग खड़े होके मार्केट में, अगर सपोज करो कि चार लोग खड़े हो गए और नरेंद्र मोदी जी को अवार्ड जो मिले हैं बाहर 25 देशों में, उनके अगेंस्ट में वो करने लगे नौटंकी, तो क्या आपको लगता है वो अवार्ड वापस ले लिए जाएंगे? यार, आप कुछ तो सोचो थोड़ा यार.
सर
थोड़ा
अवार्ड
सा
तो
तो
वापस
प्रैक्टिकली
हुए
सोचो.
हैं.
ऐसा थोड़ी होता है लाइफ में, कभी देखा है आपने कि चार लोग प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं, उससे अवार्ड ले लिया गया वापस, या कोई ऑनररी डॉक्टरेट किसी से वापस ले लिया गया हो? यार, प्रोटेस्ट कॉलेज के प्रोफेसर का काम है कि भाई ये हमारी डिग्निटी के बिलो है, इस पर्टिकुलर कॉलेज से ऐसे आदमी को डिग्री दी जाए, बस तो हम प्रोटेस्ट करेंगे. उसमें ये थोड़ी बहुत बोलेगा यार वो कि ये है वो है. ठीक है, चलो, कोई बात
ओके सर, ओके सर.
नहीं. यस, मान्या, यू वर सेइंग समथिंग.
Yes, sir. So I had a doubt. In question number 3, it was the second option said that the invisible theater is improvisational. So I thought that it is true because in the second paragraph it is written that invisible theater actively listen, they participate in public spirited discussion and even take unplanned public-minded action. So this gave me a
तो ये
view that
कौन है?
they
ये कौन कर
tend.
रहा है? ये कौन कर रहे हैं?
Invisible.
नॉन परफॉर्मेंस। यहाँ बात किसकी हो रही है?
Oh, okay. Non,
कि जो परफॉर्मर्स
invisible.
होते हैं। दूसरी बात यहाँ पे ये साफ साफ लिखा हुआ है कि दे क्राफ्टेड देयर डायलॉग एंड केम। तीसरी बात
Yes,
लिखी हुई है
yes.
यहाँ पे कि यहाँ पे
Scripted होती है.
स्क्रिप्टेड कैरेक्टर्स।
Yeah.
तो इसलिए फिर आप ये नहीं कर सकते।
Okay, sir. Okay, got you.
ऑलराइट, चलो ठीक है, अभी चलते हैं आगे। देयर इज अ रिक्वेस्ट दैट हैज कम फ्रॉम वन पर्सन दैट वी शुड लुक एट द सेकंड पैसेज फर्स्ट बिफोर वी गो टू द ये तो कोई बात नहीं, वी विल डू दैट बिकॉज देयर इज नो नथिंग रॉन्ग इन डूइंग इट। सो लेट्स लुक एट द सेकंड पैसेज हियर। टू सम स्कॉलर्स द यूरोपियन बरोक, सी बरोक इज अ स्टाइल। ओके, बरोक इज अ स्टाइल, अगर हमें नहीं भी पता हो तो वो स्टाइल है ऑफ आर्किटेक्चर, ऑफ music, of drama, of maybe even literature. So baroque is a style, and that was there in 16 17 odd centuries. Now, even if you don't know, no problem, no problem. Okay, ऐसा जरूरी नहीं कि आपको पता हो कि baroque क्या होता है, लेकिन साफ साफ उसने लिखा है is not merely an aesthetic. We should know the word meaning of the word aesthetic. Okay, aesthetic means beauty. सो ब्यूटी से रिलेटेड होता है स्टाइल। तो बरोक इज नॉट मियरली एन एस्थेटिक स्टाइल कैरेक्टराइज बाय एक्स्ट्रावेगेंट फॉर्म्स एंड एलैबोरेट ऑर्नामेंटेशन। तो इसमें क्या होता है कि बहुत ही एलैबोरेट ऑर्नामेंट किया किया जाता है और बहुत ही एक्स्ट्रावेगेंट फॉर्म्स होते हैं। तो अगर कोई बिल्डिंग बरोक स्टाइल में है तो उसमें बहुत सारे आपको अलग अलग फ्लैशी चीजें देखने को मिलेंगी। एलैबोरेट ऑर्नामेंटेशन मतलब उसकी जो कार्विंग्स होंगी वो होंगी उसमें, उसके जो पिलर्स होंगे, आर्चेज होंगे, वो बड़े ऐसे स्टाइलिश टाइप के होंगे। तो इस तरह की बिल्डिंग्स होती थी बरोक में। But also a political, social, and cultural mentality prevalent in Europe from approximately 1600 to 1680. तो ऑथर इज सजेस्टिंग हियर कि ये सिर्फ एक स्टाइल ही नहीं थी, बल्कि एक पॉलिटिकल, सोशल और कल्चरल मेंटालिटी भी थी। दिस लार्जर व्यू वाज हेल्ड बाय द लेट स्पेनिश हिस्टोरियन होसे एंटोनियो माराबेल, whose writing trace aspects of the modern world, especially the principle of individual liberty in opposition to state's power, back to the Baroque era as it unfolded in Spain. तो ये जो व्यू था कि ये दिस बरोक वाज आल्सो ऑल ऑफ दिस was held by this guy Marabel, okay, whose writings trace aspects of modern world or particularly principle of individual liberty in operation in opposition to state's power, back to the Baroque era. तो जो स्पेन में हुआ, this guy he was a Spanish, so the way it unfolded in Spain, this fellow has captured it, and he has kind of evaluated it in the way of the opposition between individual liberty and the state's power, that लोगों की लिबर्टी को कैसे कंस्ट्रेन करने की कोशिश की जा रही है। Marabel argues that Baroque period was characterized by monarchical absolutism. Monarchs means kings, having suppressed the worst excesses of aristocratic disorder, could now ally themselves with their nobilities to defend traditional order and values in societies, unsettled by Renaissance liberating forces of criticism and opposition. So, just before this, there was a Renaissance movement, 1450, 1500, early 1600. Renaissance was a revival of European or particularly Roman or European culture, you can say art and culture. So art and culture के revival से people were feeling very liberated, right? So these monarchs, so let's say these kings along with their aristocrats means nobles. तो देखो aristocrat और nobles कौन होते हैं? तो हमारे यहाँ पे if you want to draw a parallel, so you can say that monarch is basically the PM and nobles are all the ministers, right? They are all the ministers, cabinet ministers, all the होम मिनिस्टर, फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर, ये मिनिस्टर, वो मिनिस्टर, ये सब उनके एरिस्टोक्रेट और नोबल होते हैं। एंड देन देयर आर पीपल, राइट, ओवर हुम दे रूल। तो इन लोगों ने क्या किया? दे कुड अलाई देमसेल्फ विद देयर नोबिलिटीज। इन लोगों ने मिलके इनके साथ में अलाई किया टू डिफेंड ट्रेडिशनल ऑर्डर एंड वैल्यूज। कि जो सोसाइटी में रेनासांस के कारण काफी लिबरेशन वाली जैसी फीलिंग्स आ रही हैं, तो उसको हम वी विल डिफेंड आवर ट्रेडिशनल वैल्यूज। वी विल नॉट लेट पीपल रन अवे विद देयर लिबरेटिंग फोर्सेस of criticism and opposition. That means if people were criticizing or opposing the monarchy, then they will restrict that. These forces appeared especially threatening because deteriorating economic conditions heightened conflict among different elements of society. So obviously, जब लोगों के पास में पैसे नहीं होते, deteriorating economic condition होती है, and people then start opposing the government and criticizing the government, so they become threatening, right? And they could lead to conflict also among different elements. For Marabel, Baroque culture was the response of ruling class, including crown, church, and nobility. So ruling class में crown means king. उस टाइम पे चर्च के पास भी बहुत पावर होती थी, and nobility. To the European social and economic crisis, although that crisis was more acute and social structure more frozen in imperial Spain than elsewhere. So ये पूरे यूरोप की एक तरह से बात हो रही, but particularly he's saying कि in Spain it was much more visible. and the crisis was much more acute. Manavel regards the Baroque as a culture of control and containment, or more dynamically as a directive culture designed to reintegrate and unite a society living under the shadow of social and intellectual disruption. So basically, हुआ क्या है that because of Renaissance, because of revival, people have started finding individual voices, and because of that, there is a division in the society because of the economic conditions also. But this ruling class is not comfortable with all this, so they want to impose, some bit of uniformity on the people, trying to reintegrate them and unite them as a society. So this Baroque was basically being used by them, by the monarchs in alliance with the nobles or aristocrats. That is what is the view of this particular guy, Maravel. Maravel suggests that even though all political controls were centralized in the monarchical system, this system of authority was not simply repressive. So political controls were centralized in monarchical system, but this authority was not repressive. It did not repress people. It was also enticing, promoting a public delight in grandiose artifice by means of devices that range from firework displays to theater to religious festivals. So ये लोग क्या करते थे? They used to organize these firework displays, thinking that obviously people will come together, they will unite, then they will hold some theater, they will do some religious festival. So this all was done basically to get the people together. Operating upon an urban culture that already possessed characteristics of modern mass culture, these enticements deflected the desire of novelty into areas of life where it represented no challenge to the political order. तो लोगों का जो desire है, right, they wanted to channelize into these areas of art, culture, and all this, which was no challenge to the political order. That means they will stop criticizing or opposing the government, and they will be channelized into all of these things. वो ये सब चीजों में लग जाएंगे. जैसे अभी, I mean, some people might say that, I mean, if you want to draw a parallel, कि लोगों को हिंदू मुस्लिम या इस टाइप की चीज में डाल दो, लोगों को कांवड़िया में डाल दो, उनको सेलिब्रेट करना तो फेस्टिवल, तो वो जो बेसिक जो इश्यूज हैं गवर्नेंस के और इस सब चीजों के, वो दे विल फॉरगेट ऑल ऑफ दैट, राइट? So that's like, I mean, in one extreme, I'm just taking it just to explain. Maravel concludes that every aspect of the Baroque emerged from the necessity as public opinion grew increasingly important of manipulating opinions and feelings on a broad public scale. So this was a necessity, he's saying. Every aspect of Baroque emerged from necessity because public opinion was becoming very important, and therefore they wanted to manipulate the opinions and feelings. They wanted people to say that no, everything is fine, sab changa si, this तरीके से. Perhaps, however, Maravel's interpretation is overall influenced by his quest for Baroque foreshadowings of modernity and by his experience of living under the Spanish director Franco. Now, here comes the author's view. Author says that that this interpretation by Maravel, that this Baroque was being used in this manner by monarchy and nobles in order to bring people together, divert their attention on all of that. This is overly influenced by his quest for Baroque foreshadowings of modernity and his experience of living under this particular Spanish dictator Franco. So that means he's not agreeing to what all he's saying full-fledged. He tends to exaggerate the capacity of those in the authority to manipulate society for their own ideological ends. So he's saying that he exaggerate करता है. It's not that straightforward that the authority will be able to manipulate a society by using all these Baroque things and all. A look at the 17th century court of Charles I in England or Philip IV in Spain suggests that efforts of manipulation were at times wholly counterproductive. The author is giving examples of situations in which this efforts of manipulation boomeranged. In England and Spain during 1630, the rulers themselves, not the subjects, succumbed to the illusions carefully sustained by ceremony, theatre, and symbol. That means they themselves succumbed to the illusions. मतलब वो खुद ही उसके शिकार हो गए. जो सेरेमनी, थिएटर और ये सब इन्होंने करी थी, तो उससे यही they themselves succumbed to that. So this kind of boomerang. The result was that members of the ruling class became dangerously isolated from the outside world. As the gulf between illusion and reality widened, the monarchy and aristocracy fell headlong in the credibility gap of their own creation. So this, by way of the examples of England and Spain, he is trying to say that it backfired, and in fact, the gap between illusion and reality increased, and these failed to basically do what they wanted to achieve, and rather fell in their own trap, kind of. So this passage was about, अभी देखा जाए, okay, you might have found a little more abstract, and but then the premise was very straightforward. Here he's saying that Maraval is stating that this Baroque was being used by these monarchs in association with their nobles or aristocrats in order to sway public opinion, in order to unite them, in order to divert their minds from the real issues. Author says that this is it is too exaggerated an interpretation, and Therefore, and maybe he's talking from the perspective of the Spanish dictator, but certain other examples say that at times it backfired. He's not completely refuting it. He's saying at times it backfired and they fell in their own traps. So that's the passage that was all about. Shall we go to the questions now? Yes. Which of the following best expresses the main idea of the passage? Until recently, Baroque has been regarded simply as an aesthetic style. See, first of all, there is no mention of until recently or until late. Okay, he is simply saying that यूरोपियन बैरोक के बारे में ये था और अभी लार्जर व्यू उसने होल्ड किया था और ये जो इंटरप्रिटेशन है ये गलत है. तो there is no timeline here that until recently it was regarded as an aesthetic style. However, Maraval has shown that it was cultural mentality serving to reinforce monarchical absolutism. बट इसमें एक और प्रॉब्लम है दैट ऑथर का जो ऑब्जेक्शन है एंड में दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट हियर दैट ऑथर इज नॉट एग्रीइंग टू Maraval's views 100% and saying that Maraval has exaggerated or overstated. Therefore, this is not correct. Maraval views Baroque culture as strategy for dissipating opposition and managing public opinion. सही है. However, he overestimated the strategy's success. सही है. Agreed? Maraval interprets Baroque culture as an expansion of social and intellectual developments of the Renaissance. ये तो यही गलत हो गया. However, his view is colored by his focus on Spain. This is fine. The second part is fine. But interprets Baroque culture as an expansion of social and intellectual developments. Or this was a strategy for managing the results of that social and intellectual developments. Yeah, the individuals' voices that got raised because of these developments. वैसा लिखता तो it would have been correct, but otherwise this is wrong. Maraval's theory about the intent of ruling class to control society via Baroque culture is refuted by examples of specific Baroque era monarchies. So he's 100% opposing it. Here he's saying that theory about intent to control via Baroque is refuted, means challenged by example of specific Baroque era monarchies. So here he's given two examples. So here he's saying it's 100% refuted, which is wrong. Because he says this is overly influenced. He tends to exaggerate the capacity. He doesn't say that this is totally outlandish or this never occurred. He's trying to say that इसने थोड़ा exaggerate कर दिया because of Franco, but he's not said that it is refuted. तो इसलिए इसमें second the best answer.
सर कौन से एग्जांपल्स की बात हो रही थी सर जिसको रिफ्यूट करने की बात कर रहा है ऑप्शन 4 में?
दो एग्जांपल इंग्लैंड के फिलिप के और स्पेन वाले के उसके दो किए ना, दो एग्जांपल किए, चार्ल्स 1 इन इंग्लैंड एंड फिलिप 1 4 इन स्पेन, इसके थ्रू.
अच्छा अच्छा ओके.
देखो जो ऑथर है उसका ये कहना है कि भाई ये जो जो भी बोल रहा है कि बरोक कल्चर से यूज करके वो ऐसा ऐसा करते थे, ये वो स्पेनिश डिक्टेटर फ्रैंको के चक्कर में बोल रहा है. तो मे बी बिकॉज ऑफ यहाँ पे होता होगा ऐसा, लेकिन हम ये नहीं कह सकते दैट दिस वाज ओवरऑल द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ बरोक कल्चर, because he's given two examples where people or the kings who wanted to do this found themselves falling in their own trap, as explained in this 4-5 lines. So we cannot say that he's 100% refuting. Okay, he's saying that he had exaggerated. कुछ agree कर रहा है और कुछ उससे differ कर रहा है, right? Which of the following pieces of evidence, if it existed, would most weaken Maraval's interpretation of Baroque culture? तो मार्वल्स इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ बैरोक कल्चर क्या है कि लोग जो है वो पीपल दे वंस द मोनार्कीज ट्राइड व्हाटएवर दे वांटेड, देन द पीपल यूनाइटेड एंड देन दे स्टॉप्ड अपोजिंग द मोनार्कीज, राइट? दैट मींस द इट गॉट द डिजायर्ड रिजल्ट. सो इसको हमें वीकन करना है. डिस्कवरी दैट बैरोक एरा नोबिलिटी कमीशन्ड फार मोर वर्क्स ऑफ आर्ट देन डिड मोनार्क्स. सो इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा. दिस इज इमटेरियल हियर वेदर Baroque or nobility commissioned far more works of art than monarchs. इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है. Analysis of Baroque art that emphasizes its idealized depiction of monarchy and aristocracy. Analysis of Baroque art that emphasizes idealized depiction of monarchy and aristocracy will basically strengthen his interpretation. That idealized depiction क्या है कि इन्होंने they've used Baroque culture to unite people, to divert them from revolting and all of that. So this would strengthen, it would not weaken. Documents indicating that many Baroque era works expressed opposition. This one weakens because this tells you that the desired effect was not there, and therefore this looks fine. Documents indicating conscious effort on the part of Franco to control society. ये तो support करेगा उसको by cultural means. This will support. Correct answer was C. Agreed? Any doubt on this? Cool. It can be inferred from the passage that Marvel regarded monarchs of Baroque era as. इसमें increasingly indifferent to unfavorable public opinion. That means it did not matter whatever public was saying. No, this is totally opposite to what he's saying. Concerned with the political threat posed by aristocracy or posed by public. Not by aristocracy, but by public. This is also wrong. Captivated by the cultural desires designed to control their subjects. Captivated, ये तो author कह रहा है कि वो खुद ही उससे charm हो गए, right? They were captivated by the cultural devices designed to control their subjects. ये जो end में लिखा हुआ है कि वो खुद ही they were captivated by this, right? So this is given in this last paragraph that they themselves got captivated, right? They totally themselves got manipulated or succumbed to the illusions, right? So this is what he's mentioning in saying that by saying that captivated by the cultural devices. This is not Maraval's view, but the author's view. So this is also wrong. Somewhat successful in countering the disruptive legacy at the Renaissance. ये तो ठीक है, Maraval कह ही रहा है कि they were successful in countering the disruptive legacy of the Renaissance. D is the correct answer. Any doubts? In Maraval's view, the Baroque theatre was intended to echo the consensus of public opinion. मतलब public जो कह रही है उसी को हम इको करेंगे, ऐसा थोड़ी, बल्कि वो तो अपोज करना चाह रहे थे, पब्लिक ओपिनियन को चेंज करना चाह रहे थे. They did not want to echo the consensus. Entertain and divert the urban population. Yes, they wanted to entertain and divert. Express the emerging principle of individual liberty. This is exactly opposite. They did not want to have people follow this notion of individual liberty. सबको unite करके और अपनी तरफ लाना चाह रहे थे. Terrify the citizenry with the threat. Terrifying with the threat. No. They were not terrifying them by any kind of violent means or any kind of threat that नहीं करोगे तो आपको कर देंगे. वो तो उनका दिमाग भटकाने की कोशिश कर रहे थे, right? So correct answer here is B. Okay. Any doubts on this, or you are too numb to care or too tired to care? So who found this passage very, very difficult? Please raise your hands. Whoever found please be honest, genuine about it, because then I'll start giving more of these kind of passages. Now, see, whatever we are doing here, please understand that this is all the process in order to make you exam ready, war ready. Okay, this is not just to make you happy about yourself or sad about yourself. Please remember, okay, the whole purpose of this exercise is to know where we are, because unless we know where we are, we will not take steps to improve. Okay, so 20 of you found the passage to be very difficult. Now, let me ask one or two of you, what was the difficulty you found in this? Did you find it difficult to relate to that particular thing? Did you found the language to be very difficult? Or you found the whole idea not understandable or very abstract? Yes.
Relating to that thing.
Relating to that thing.
Yes.
Okay. So what was your impression? What did you think that the passage was trying to do? Or you couldn't get the thread from the beginning itself?
As I began reading, it was kind of confusing. Like बीच में मार्बल आ रहा है और उसके मतलब इतनी आइडियोलॉजीज बीच में कॉन्फ्लिक्टिंग लग रहा था थोड़ा, तो उसके चक्कर में मैंने इसे थोड़ा स्किप किया.
Okay. See, we've been doing various RCs. अब आपको नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, in general I'm making a statement. Wherein at different times I've been telling you about the let's say last 2000 years of or 2500 years of human history, wherein we keep repeating these terms, right? Haven't we? We have talked about Greek civilization, the Roman Empire, the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, the awakening or the Enlightenment, and then the modern world. तो ये हम डिस्कस करते चले आए. तो एक सेशन इस पे obviously I will again keep about this history again, and we will go through a little more in detail. But basically, we should have a little understanding of this whole perspective of the last 2500 years, because of course you are not supposed to be a history expert or anything, but at least see, because Renaissance में क्या है? रिवाइवल हुआ तो क्या हुआ? कल्चर और आर्ट का रिवाइवल हुआ यूरोप. जब भी कल्चर और आर्ट का रिवाइवल होता है तो इंडिविजुअल लिबर्टी और इंडिविजुअल की जो वॉइसेस होती हैं वो काफी बढ़ने लगती है, राइट? बिकॉज थ्रू आर्ट पीपल स्टार्ट एक्सप्रेसिंग देयर डिस्प्लेजर और डिसकंटेंट विद द with the authorities, right? And authorities in those days were the monarchs or kings or nobility. तो किंग्स और नोबिलिटी ने मिलके बरोक कल्चर को यूज किया, मतलब उन्होंने इनडायरेक्टली, ऐसा मालावार कह रहा है, मावाला जो भी नाम है उसका, वो कह रहा है कि उन्होंने उसको यूज किया सो दैट लोगों का जो इस तरह की जो डिसेंटिंग वॉइसेस हैं इन सबको यूनाइट करके वो ध्यान भटका दे ताकि वो मेन इश्यूज के अंदर ना घुस पाए, राइट? दैट इज व्हाट was the point here. And then we need to relate it to the present situation also. When we keep reading about whatever is happening, around the world, let's say, not just in India, but India particularly, because we know, right, whatever is happening, that all these politicians, I'm not saying A party, B party, or C party, उनका काम यही होता है ना, that people, if people unite and they, let's say, protest against anything, they would want to keep them occupied with some useless things, right? They will release some through social media. It is very easy now. पहले तो सोशल मीडिया था नहीं, अब बहुत आसान है सोशल मीडिया के थ्रू ध्यान भटकाना। कभी एयर इंडिया के थ्रू ध्यान भटका दो, कभी कोई और एक इशू लेके आ जाओ, उसके थ्रू ध्यान भटका दो लोगों का, तो वो लोग दिन भर उसी में लड़ते मिलेंगे। तो एनीवे, so that was the basic point here. Fine, I've taken your point. We will do more of situations like these. Fine. Let's yeah, anything else anyone would like to talk before we go?
Sir, one thing I would like to ask. Say, can you go back to that question? Last question. सर जहाँ पे वो रहना सर, यहाँ पे जैसे क्वेश्चन नंबर 13 का ऑप्शन डी, जनरली आई व्हाट आई डू इज आई गो बाय एलिमिनेटिंग द ऑप्शंस, बट यहाँ पे क्या था ना कि हम एलिमिनेट करेंगे जब वो हम इन्फर कर पाएंगे ना, तो लाइक इंक्रीजिंगली इंडिफरेंट टू अनफेवरेबल पब्लिक, ये फर्स्ट पॉइंट पैसेज में समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है कि कौन से लाइन से ये पॉइंट डिराइव हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा है।
अरे ये तो
जैसे कि
अरे मोनार्क्स जो थे, ये तो शुरू शुरू में तो लिखा हुआ है यार, ये क्या लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पे, आप देखो, monarchs having suppressed the work excesses, they could now align themselves with nobility to defend traditional order and values in societies unsettled by Renaissance liberating forces of criticism and opposition. These forces especially appeared threatening because deteriorating economic condition heightened conflict among different elements of society. साफ साफ तो बोल रहा है ये कि they were, how could they remain indifferent, right? It can be monarchs were indifferent. Indifferent means they didn't care about the unfavorable public opinion. तो ये तो साफ साफ बोल रहा है कि they were very much worried about the public opinion. ये देखो, these forces especially appeared threatening, तो they were very worried about it. तो ये कैसे बोल रहे हो आपकी इसमें से इंफर नहीं? ठीक है चलो, I don't know
इवन जैसे कि सर रेनेसेंस वाले पॉइंट पे भी वहां पे बहुत शॉर्टली बोला था पैसेज में,
अरे
आई
यार
थिंक द सेकंड पार्ट।
ये पूरा पैराग्राफ ढंग से अगर आपको समझ में आ गया ना, तो आपको ये पूरी बात समझ में आ जाएगी। तो the problem I think lies somewhere else, that we are not reading. How many of you swear, okay, touch your heart, cross your heart and tell me that you are reading 2 passages, 2 articles daily? Please be very, very honest, okay? Don't try to just show your hand for the sake of it. Be very honest and say that how many of you, let's say, okay, if not 10 days, 6 days a week, if I send 6 days, 5 days at least, हम पढ़ते हैं। और कितने लोग ये कह सकते हैं कि हम काफी टाइम से पढ़ रहे हैं? इसमें से कुछ लोग हैं, चलो, जो अभी रिसेंटली इन्होंने पढ़ना शुरू किया। ऐसे कितने लोग कहते हैं कि हमने कम से कम 1.5-2 महीने से, फ्रॉम लास्ट 1.5 months at least, we've been reading. So कम है ना बहुत, तो that also shows. So see, the whole thing is there are so many things that I want to highlight. So please understand, and the reading also has to increase. Maybe little more tough kind of reading has to be given now that we are moving in the second gear. Okay, because this second paragraph, if you are not able to make head or tail of it, then that's a little serious situation. ये कोई ऐसा पैराग्राफ, कोई ऐसा बहुत डिफिकल्ट पैराग्राफ भी नहीं है ये, मतलब इसमें कोई ऐसा इतना भी डेंस नहीं है ये, ठीक है? तो I'll figure out how to see that, how to make you get used to that. We'll look into it, ठीक है? चलो अभी हम फटाफट बाकी के क्वेश्चन कर लेते हैं। So we were at this question. So this was, I think, a easy one. Okay, here we will move it like this, that India's technological achievements come with a serious problem. Innovation in technology enhance creativity, and this also make India the 5th most vulnerable country in terms of cyber security breaches, right? Or you can say that we can go to 2 also. Till June 2017, 27482 have been cyber security threats have been reported. So this is the problem. So I think we can go to 2. Innovation and this also make India, or maybe 5, and then we can go to 2, right? We can go to 2, fine, 352, and then we go to 1, right? This is according to internal threat report 1717, right? So semantic, and therefore 4 becomes the odd. Okay, So this was a, I think, simple, easy question, isn't it? Historically, criminal law is focused on injury and harm. Criminal law की कहाँ से बात हो रही है यहाँ पे? So how many got you correct? Got this correct? बताओ. This was the easiest question I would say in the whole lot. तो ये तो कम से कम आपको सही करना चाहिए था एटलीस्ट, बिकॉज ये क्रिमिनल लॉ कहाँ से आ गया है यहाँ पे, राइट? वी आर साइबर सिक्योरिटी थ्रेट की बात हो रही है अभी यहाँ पे. ठीक है, चलो, लेट्स गो टू द नेक्स्ट वन. Okay, this was also not a difficult question at all. But for, okay, cannot start with this. I approached you. I don't know, this looks like the ending. The moment I saw you explaining what your life was like with dementia in a video you had recorded for charity, I knew I wanted to host a book about what it was like to look at the world through your eyes. So this author is referring to somebody who he met, and he says that once I saw you explaining your life in a video, I wanted to write a book. Ghost a book means Ghosting a book means writing on behalf of somebody else. Suppose I ask you to write a book, but the name will be mine. Okay, so ये बहुत कॉमन हो गया आजकल. मेरे को अगर बुक छपानी है तो किसी को भी जो लिख सकता है उसको मैं पैसे देता हूँ, वो लिख देता है, उसको अपने नाम से छपा देता हूँ, राइट? सो दैट इज कॉल्ड घोस्ट राइटिंग. तो द मोमेंट आई सॉ यू एक्सप्लेनिंग कि ही वांटेड टू घोस्ट राइट, 3 से स्टार्ट करेंगे. फॉर नाउ दिस इज ही इज गिविंग द रीजन, बिकॉज इज फॉर बिकॉज as a ghostwriter, I enjoy taking different voices. It's like being an actor, assuming different roles. But so it is not just for this that I enjoy taking different voices. There another part to this is that he wants to write books that change people, how people think about a certain subject. And then in the end, this fellow approached that guy, and together we decided to write the book, which became your memoir, Somebody I Used to Be. 3214 becomes a paragraph. Agreed? Okay, I would call it is to moderate. चलो moderate बोल देता हूँ. Okay, this one was not difficult, was it? This saint should always be judged guilty until they're proven innocent, but the tests that they have been applied to them are not the same in all cases. In Gandhi's case, the question one feels to inclined to ask are to what extent Gandhi was moved by vanity. Vanity means pride. By the consciousness of himself as a humble, naked old man sitting on a praying mat, shaking empires by his spiritual power. And to what extent did he compromise his own principle by entering politics, which by their nature are inseparable from coercion and fraud? So he's trying to question that why, on one hand, Gandhi is like a saint, and on the other hand, he is compromising all his values, principles by entering politics, which is like a ruffian's domain, right? Coercion and fraud. To give a definite answer, one would have to study Gandhi's writing and act in immense detail, for his whole life was a sort of pilgrimage in which every act was significant. So here he's trying to suggest that basically, was Gandhi moved by his own sense of pride, or why did he sacrifice his own principles of getting into something like politics? तो इसको समझने के लिए हमें उसके काफी सारी चीजें पढ़नी पड़ी. Whether or not Gandhi was a saint, he must be guilty. See, this guilty is not to be used literally here. Okay, this guilty is not to be used literally here. And for one to declare it otherwise, one needs to study the life. Whether Gandhi's action was based in vanity and to what extent he compromised his own principles can be answered only if one was to study. This looks fine. Only by studying Gandhi's actions and writing in detail can judge his guilt. देखो यार, ये guilt जो है ये गलत word है यहाँ पे, in the sense that we cannot take things literally here. Okay, so this is also wrong. Vanity, coercion, and frauds are tags that can be only attached to Gandhi. Correct answer is 2 here. So 1 and 4 could be, I think, more easily removed than 2 and 3. Yes, Manya.
So I removed option 2 because it was written only if. So isn't it a bit more
So which one you found? देखो ये गलती आप लोग बार बार करते हो. That just because there is something that you can't digest, you choose a substandard option. Which option you chose? Tell me now.
so first, but I got to know by guilty वाला.
देखो यार, he must be guilty. अपना मतलब ये तो far fetched हो गया ना यार. Whether or not Gandhi was saint, he must be guilty. And for one to declare it otherwise, one needs to study. मतलब ये तो थोड़ा सा, I mean, this looks very childish also. तो ये आपने आपको मतलब ये अगर कल भी मैंने exactly same words भी use किए थे कि अगर ये हजम नहीं हो रहा तो आप तो ये कैसे हजम कर लिया, right? So this is something which take it with a pinch of salt. Okay, but this one cannot be taken even with a pinch of rock. I mean, pinch छोड़ो with a huge rock.
Understood.
तो
Yes,
इसलिए ऐसा नहीं करना गलती.
yes, sir.
Always weigh two options. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Standards by which we must judge the Marxist methods are of practical nature. Thus of practical nature. Thus. So Marxists, when they find their theories attacked, often withdraw to the position that Marxism is primarily not so much a doctrine as a method. So Karl Marx जो था जिसने कम्युनिज्म का जन्म दिया था, right? So उसके Marxist principles हैं. So when people attack their theories, right? So he was responsible for the communism. So they withdraw to the position that Marxism is not so much a doctrine as a method. Can we come here? The standards by which we must are thus of practical nature. There is nothing like a practical or non-practical so far. They say, दूसरा they refers to Marxists, right? So there is nothing in this also which can refer to they. तो इसलिए भी ये one पे नहीं आ सकता. They say that even if some particular part of the doctrines of Marx or some of his followers were superseded, his method would still remain unassailable. I believe that it is quite correct to insist that Marxism is fundamentally a method. Now, he is suggesting that this is a method. The standards by which we judge are thus of a practical nature again, but it is wrong to believe that as a method, it must be secure from attack. So, यहाँ पे भी आने की कोई sense नहीं है इसमें. The position is simply that whoever wishes to judge Marxism has to probe it and criticize it as a method. That is to say that he must measure it by methodological standards. He must ask. Again, if we put it here, then this he कौन है? There is nothing in this sentence which is he here, right? तो यहाँ पे भी नहीं आएगा ये. He must ask whether it is a fruitful method or a poor one, whether or not it's capable of furthering the task of science. Now it can come here. The standards by which we judge are thus of practical nature. By describing Marxism as a purist historicism, I have indicated I hold Marx method to be a poor indeed, very poor indeed. तो ये यहाँ पे आ जाएगा. अब बताइए, देखो इसमें किसी को अगर डाउट हो भी सकता था तो वो 2 और 4 में ही हो सकता है, राइट? यू कांट पुट इट इन 3 बिकॉज एज आई सेड ये नहीं तो ही किसके लिए आएगा, ही किसके लिए आएगा. दूसरा, अगर आपने 1 पे रख दिया तो दे किसके लिए आएगा, तो ये 2 में तो वैसे ही ये बाहर हो गया, राइट? एंड देन सेकंड में आने की कोई सेंस ही नहीं है.
सर 2 में मेथड से रिजेक्ट करा मैंने कि बट इट इज
फंडामेंटली a method but a wrong
यहाँ
to
पे
believe that as a method. Yes,
वो कनेक्ट हो रहा था यहाँ पे.
करेक्ट. ठीक है, तो ये 4th सही है इसमें. All right, let's look at the last 2. Okay, so how do we string together this paragraph? बताइए कहाँ से स्टार्ट करें? Second. It was an eagle or a hawk, I don't know the difference. फिर थर्ड, it was pirouetting, मतलब वो मूव कर रहा था इधर से उधर, covering a small arc over and again, so its body such an angle that its outside swing was almost perpendicular to the ground below. There was something comical about it at first sight, like watching a drunken person run around, walk around in circles. Now this is very clearly linked to the moment of levity, right? Moment of levity means lightness. तो ये जो ह्यूमर की बात है कॉमिकल, वो लिंक्ड है इससे. But the moment of levity passed soon for enough. I couldn't see it. I knew there was a wire or string up there. Stay utility time the refused to reflect. That was revealed. And this one, the line might have remained unseen, but it was there. ये बाद में आएगा भी. It would not come within these 4. So 2, 3, 1, 5 is the correct. मतलब is a paragraph and 4th is the correct answer. Agreed? Just कुछ आगे.
सर जो 4th सेंटेंस है, लेकिन वो होगा वैसे इसी कॉन्वर्सेशन का पार्ट ना, क्योंकि मतलब थोड़ा बहुत तो
नहीं, ये इसके कहीं बाद आएगा, 1-2 लाइन बाद. देखो
ओके
अभी तक बर्ड के स्ट्रगल करने की हमें समझ में नहीं आया. अभी तो ये हंस रहा था इसको ड्रंकन पर्सन, और अब इसके मोमेंट ऑफ लेविटी पास्ट सून, क्योंकि इसको कोई लगा कि यार वहां वायर है. मतलब इसको पहले क्या था कि ईगल और हॉक को समझ नहीं आया. इसको
सर
वो मूव कर रही.
लेविटी मतलब सर एक बार बताना. लाइटनेस.
लेविटी मीन्स नॉन सीरियसनेस.
अच्छा ओके, इसलिए वो कॉमिकल से रिलेट हो गया.
हाँ,
ओके ओके.
लेविटी इज द ऑपोजिट ऑफ ग्रेविटी. ग्रेविटी मीन्स सीरियसनेस. जैसे आई टेल यू ऑल टू टेक रीडिंग विद ग्रेविटी, और आई एक्सपेक्ट दैट यू विल टेक माय एडवाइस विद ग्रेविटी, or please attach some gravity to whatever I advise. Do not take it with levity. Okay, If you
Got
take
it, sir. Got it.
with levity, then you will find that you may not succeed. So
Got it, sir.
levity means lightness, something which is non-serious, so which is linked to this comical.
Got it, sir. Thanks.
The baby son born, okay, was no exception. यहाँ से start नहीं हो सकता. Our son too went, ये भी नहीं हो सकता. Understanding the early history of sun will help scientists about the future. ये आगे के लिए. Stars, तो ये एक यहाँ से start कर देंगे. Stars are typically violently active in their early phase of evolution. The baby sun born around 4.6 was no exception. This exception is to this fourth. Stars are typically violent, and sun was no exception. Ice blue crystals revealed that sun too went through the terrible twos. फिर ये understanding the early history will help scientists know the physics and chemistry of our. Yes, please. So now with this, let me understand that did you realize कि कुछ questions सही हो सकते थे? You could have done some with a little better application, maybe little better managing of the whole thing. I don't know. So whoever has got not so good score, don't worry. देखो, first of all, let me tell you very clearly that please don't take that score as an indication of your ability, because there are many like you and who have been able to improve by leaps and bounds as they've gone along, only if they have followed the process. The process is very important to follow. Okay. Having said that, it's fine to go through it again and try to realize your mistakes. And if you're not able to understand something, then you can flag it out and we will work towards it. Yes, Usharu.
सर इस क्वेश्चन में सर 4 और 3 तो समझ आ गया कि 4 से स्टार्ट होगा और 3rd से एंड होगा. बट सर जैसे 1 और 2 के बीच में मैं कंफ्यूज हुआ था कि 1-2 बनेगा या 2-1. सर तो इसमें जो फर्स्ट सेंटेंस है उसमें एंड में लिखा हुआ है वॉज नो एक्सेप्शन. तो मुझे वहां से लगा कि लाइक 2 को पहले आना चाहिए क्योंकि वरना वो एक्सेप्शन एज अ.
देखो,
सर क्योंकि
उसको
जो
बोलो, एक मिनट, उसको बोलो स्टार्स आर टिपिकली वायलेंट एंड सन वाज नो एक्सेप्शन.
सर मतलब मैंने ये लॉजिक लगाया था कि स्टार्स तो मतलब तो पहले ही आएगा, उसके बाद फिर वो सन पे जाएगा क्योंकि सन भी एक स्टार है. तो उसके बाद 4 से मैं 2 पे इसलिए गया क्योंकि उसमें वो सन की बात कर रहा है, फिर 2 के बाद 1 में क्योंकि वो और ज्यादा जूम इन कर रहा है बेबी
तो
सन
फिर
बोल
एक
के.
बार बताओ, एक मिनट. अच्छा, अब ये आपने ये बोला कि सेकंड पे चले गया. शिकागो रिवील्ड दैट आवर सन टू वेंट थ्रू टेरेबल टूज. तो फिर ये इसकी क्या जरूरत है जब आपने ऑलरेडी बोल दिया कि सन ऑल्सो वेंट थ्रू द टेरेबल टूज? व्हाई वुड यू से दैट द सन वाज नो एक्सेप्शन?
ओके ओके सर, समझ गया. गॉट.
दूसरी बात, व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ टेरेबल टूज? एनीवन नोज दिस? टेरेबल टूज किसको कहते हैं? देखो, टेरेबल टूज किसको कहते हैं? किसी को पता है? हाउ, आई मीन, यू ऑल हैव गॉन थ्रू योर टेरेबल टूज. टेरेबल टूज आर बेसिकली दैट फेज ऑफ वंस लाइफ व्हेन यू आर 2 to 3, जिसको हम टॉडलर कहते हैं बेसिकली. 2-3 साल का जब बच्चा होता है तो वो बहुत तंग करता है माँ बाप को पूरी तरह से, हर तरीके से. मतलब किसी भी माँ बाप से, आप अपने माँ बाप से पूछना जाके कि मैं सबसे ज्यादा तंग कब किया करता है करती थी, तो आपके माँ बाप ये कहेंगे कि अभी तो करते हो, लेकिन उसके पहले 2 ईयर की उम्र में बहुत ज्यादा करते थे. उसके दांत आने लगते बच्चों के, बहुत क्रैंकी रहते हैं, खाते पीते नहीं है, और बहुत ही धमाचौकड़ी मचाते. द पॉइंट इज दैट दिस टेरेबल टूज इज अ फेज ऑफ लाइफ. तो टेरेबल टूज कैन ओनली हैपन वंस द बेबी सन इज बॉर्न ना. यू कैन नॉट हैव टेरेबल टूज फर्स्ट एंड देन द बेबी सन बीइंग बॉर्न. तो ये वो लॉजिक भी डिफीट कर दिया इसने.
गॉट इट सर, समझ गया.
सो टेरेबल टूज, हमें वो 2 साल की उम्र है जो कि बहुत ही टेरेबल होती है, उसके बारे में बात है. ओके, ऑलराइट. सो एनी क्लोजिंग कमेंट्स और व्यूज? No, no comment. Okay, let me just declare the people who have done well. Let me also uh, maybe talk about some people who did very well in this, and obviously to encourage them to do better, and to others also to follow their. So just give me 1 second. Let me just. Okay, so we got Siddharth Reddy as the highest scorer. Siddharth, are you there? Yes, so Siddharth has scored 40 with a fantastic 40 score. Siddharth has been the leader today. Then we have Bhavya. So this is Siddharth. 36. Bhavya is at number 2. Congratulations, well done. And then we have Ashish at 34. Ashish Kumar at 34. Well done, Ashish. Aryan is also at 34. Aryan also is at 34. Well done, Aryan. And then we have, okay, Prakriti also at 34. Great. So we have 3 at 34. Then we have Kushagra at 31 and Jia at 29. So I'm just going to give the top 10. Okay. Ashish Surana, very good, 27. I think you can do much better. 27. Shirin at 26. So Shirin at 26 and Chaitanya at 25. So we got what 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Chaitanya at 25. Okay, then we have of course got Komal 23, PS 22, Rohit 20, Himanshu 18, Aditya 18. So this is just to motivate others also to do their do better. I'm sure everybody is capable of doing much better. Just open your mind, read as much as possible, think about these things. That's it for today. Thank you. And next week onwards, we will start doing a full length things. Okay. Uh, hopefully, we should be on our way to a great school. Chaliye. All right. Thank you and have a good day ahead. Bye bye.